of the events or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coon. The white man will go nuts if he can't shoot. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get black into it. Hello, Yvette, Lillian X, Vince, I am from the UK, Emperor Rex, Gregory is here. All right, Danny Joe, Dangerous. All right, so let's get into it. Everybody hit that like button. I see you, Hadassah. Okay, so shout out to all my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because they be putting in work. I see Piggy Pickham is here. Okay, so let's get into it. Adonaiah, I hope I said that right. Adonaiah, Bath Israel. Okay, so let's have a brief word from my sponsor. Hey, Claudette, Desmond. Okay, Terry Hinton, we the people. Okay, Sheila, I see you, beloved. Okay, so let's have a brief word from my sponsor. Hey, Alice and Pookie. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes, and then we'll get this party started. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget that you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into it. All right, so it's a whole lot going on, but first off, let me just tell you all this. Yesterday, this is what Iran said. Just in, Iran says, we have just one message for the American soldiers. Come closer. Okay, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? When they were talking about the troops being deployed on the ground, that's what they said. Come closer. And don't forget that Abbas Arakchi said they're waiting for them. Okay? That's what they said. And also don't forget that President Macron of France told them days ago that they need to go ahead and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And they told him, you come open it. All right? Are y'all paying attention? Are y'all paying attention? But now let me just tell you about something that I heard this morning that I saw on X, literally right before I started this live, and I found it all interesting. Let's go to it. Because when I tell you the Ugandans are supposedly joining in the fight in the war against Iran, joining in to help Bibi's people. Don't y'all find that interesting? Because I sure as hell did. Okay? I sure did. So let me go to it right here. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Ugandans need to sit down somewhere. Okay, because this war has nothing to do with them. Why insert yourselves for your own people to get killed? Because that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay? It says, hold on. It says officially Uganda joins the war with Iran alongside Bibi's people. Okay, Ugandan army commander says, we stand with Israel because we are Christians. All right, did y'all hear that? Y'all heard that, right? They said they stand with them because they are Christians. Well, here's the thing. They're going by the Bible. And the people that they're talking about in the Bible are us. We the Israelites, not Israelis. Okay, so I just find that interesting. I just find that all interesting. And let us not forget how their chief rabbi, okay, years ago, called us monkeys. And if he called us monkeys, he was talking about them too. Okay? I just want y'all to pay attention. But nonetheless, I find it interesting because these people are just poor, misguided souls. All right, poor, misguided souls. And then let me go to this post. I forgot this. This is all crazy. Great reporting, Queen. Well, thank you, Lana, beloved. I appreciate you. And also thank you for being a member for 19 months. Peace, love, and blessings. Now look at this. And so someone who calls himself Kunta Kinte says, we Ugandans are not represented by our Joker army chief. Power belongs to the people. And 99.99% of Ugandans never agree with those people. Even in the UN chambers, our president is known for two-state solution. We are anti-Western imperialism and its cronies like Bibi's people. Okay, and as you can see them right here, okay, they're with the Muslims. So I don't know how this is going to go. I just think it's very interesting. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share, because when I tell you all, Project 2025 is in full effect right now. Let me just tell you what's going on. So I told you all days ago, the other day, when we were talking about ICE being deployed to the airports, okay, to work with TSA. This is all a part of Project 2025 for those of you who missed it. So basically what they're doing, and please get the likes up, people. That's the one way you can support the channel absolutely for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. So with that all being said, Project 2025 talks about them privatizing TSA. Okay, privatizing TSA, which would, in my opinion, be a bad move, because if it's privatized, there has to be the concern that the focus would be on profit and not safety. Okay, if we're having these private companies take over, that would probably turn out to be profit over safety. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. I mean, it's the same thing with the healthcare industry. They care more about profit than actually curing people of things. So I just want you all to pay attention to that. Also, that collision that happened at the LaGuardia Airport in New York days ago. Well, they are now coming out with a report about that. But I do believe that, it's more than a coincidence, not a coincidence. It's more than a coincidence that this happened right after ICE got to the airports. Okay. And here's the thing. A lot of these TSA agents are quitting. Okay, a lot of the airport staff is quitting because these people have not been getting paid. And it seems like this is all by design. Okay. Also, let's not forget that I told you all days ago that there is the concern about a possible or the potential of a false flag, right? So there was an incident years ago called Operation Bojinka, which was foiled, luckily, because it was a large-scale three-phase terrorist plot planned by whom they say was Al Qaeda. Now we remember they said something else was planned by Al Qaeda, but then we since found out that that was likely not the case. But anyway, it was a terrorist plot supposedly planned by Al Qaeda members Ramzi Yousaf and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, okay, for January of 1995. The plan involved assassinating Pope John Paul II, blowing up 11 U.S. airliners over the Pacific to kill 4,000 people, and crashing a plane into CIA headquarters. The plot was uncovered in the Philippines on January the 6th of 1995. Okay, after a chemical fire in the Manila airport. So I want you to pay attention. That was the plot, okay? So a very elaborate scheme. Now, the reason I bring this up is because now that ICE is at the airports and there's a whole lot of chaos ensuing at the airports, long lines, people waiting for hours, okay, collisions and all of that. I'm just wondering if the false flag is going to have anything to do with one of these airports. Okay? I don't know. I'm speculating clearly, but I have several questions. But also, what we should also be concerned about is, Iran has been trolling Donald Trump, but this video that they put out, y'all need to see it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the footage. Pay attention because there's subliminals all over it. Okay, so now with that all being said, I'm sorry, I was getting a video together. With that all being said, let's talk about that because did you all notice? How many of you noticed the face of the Statue of Liberty in that video? Once in the chat. Once in the chat, if you noticed what was going on with the Statue of Liberty in that video. Y'all saw that, right? Instead of having the face of the Statue of Liberty, that was the face of Ball. Okay, did y'all catch it? But hold on. Let's go to this TikTok video where this guy breaks it down. Here we go. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share.
Hi, people. By now, you probably have seen the video that Iran put out today where they show individuals looking up, and each individual represents a country that the US has had a war with. They portray those individuals as victims, and they are all looking up. Towards the end of the video, they show a missile, a Iranian missile. The missile actually has the flag of Iran stamped on it, and it reaches New York and hits what symbolizes the Statue of Liberty. But if you pay very close attention, the Statue of Liberty doesn't have the face that it has. It has the face of a bull, And basically, the missile hits the Statue of Liberty at its feet, and it crumbles down.
Hold on, let me stop for a minute. Bianca says, love this topic. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. That wasn't the comment that I was going to. I was actually trying to go to your other comment where you said more than ball. Absolutely. Absolutely, it's more than ball, but that's what I wanted you all to notice about the Statue of Liberty. Now, there were plenty of subliminals in there. They were showing all of the countries that the U.S. has done nefarious things to, gone to war with. You see the people looking up, and you see that missile coming with Iran's name on it, okay? Please pay attention, but let's listen to what he has to say.
So I have seen actually few people here on TikTok showing the video, saying a bunch of stuff, but nobody has said this. And this is the very first thing that came to my mind. Daniel 2. There was a statue there in Daniel 2. There is a prophecy there that part of the prophecy has not been fulfilled. And the statue is like this. The head is made of gold, Babylonia. The chest and arms of silver, the Middle Persia Empire. In Persia is Iran, is Elam in Jeremiah 49, today Iran. Then the belly and thighs is made of bronze, and that's Greece. And the legs are made of iron, and that's Rome. But the feet is very interesting because the feet is made of iron and clay. And this kind of clay is a specific clay that doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't come together. It doesn't mix and become a strong clay. Meaning that this empire, this last empire, is divided. Then what happens is that a rock not cut by human hands comes from heaven and hits the statue where? At the feet. Exactly where the iron and the clay itself does not mix. The rock represents the kingdom of God. The Iranians most likely read the book of Daniel. And what they are trying to say there is this, and maybe you need to understand, this is a spiritual war. This is it's not a religious war. They may try to make this a religious war where Christians and Jews come together against Islam. No, it's not that. It is a war, a spiritual war, where evil is trying to make a point, probably using the...
Okay, he's talking so slow. I'm just going to continue. Basically, the gist of it is they're definitely sending a clear message, and it is spiritual warfare. And I told you all that weeks ago. It absolutely is. Now, the U.S. wants to say it's a holy war because they're trying to create Armageddon. They're trying to script the Bible. That's what they're trying to do. Rather than it happening naturally as it has been prophesied, they're trying to script it. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. Now, with that all being said, everybody should probably be praying the prayer of Daniel. Okay? That's what everybody should be doing. Because the Daniel 2 prophecy, okay, it details a prophecy of a massive statue representing successive world empires that will be destroyed by a divine stone, establishing an eternal kingdom of God. Okay, like the story of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which depicted 4 kingdoms: Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Now, you do know that Iran is Persia. Okay, they were formerly Persia. Okay, so it ends with a divided, brittle, or mixed iron clay kingdom. Okay, and anyway, with that all being said, everybody needs to be praying, period, and trying to raise your vibrations. Okay, trying to raise your vibration. So said Queen Ben told us this is a spiritual warfare. Exactly. Bianca says, Revelation 13, a corrupt state acts as a beast, demanding a form of worship that is actually subservient to dark adversarial forces. Exactly. And I told you all this too. Do you all remember the video that I did? And I was telling you about how Iran was burning the statue of Baal that they have there. And I was telling you all about all the Baal worship and all of that stuff. Do you all remember? And I told you how it's going to be like in the Bible with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay, when they were told to bow before the statue that was made of gold, rather than worshiping God, and then because they refused to, they were thrown into the fiery furnace. Okay, that's what's going on here. Okay, that's what's going on here. Leon Gardner says, Queen sure called it 100. Thank you, beloved. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's continue because I was interested to find out exactly what happened with the plane collision. And it's very sad because the pilot who died and the co-pilot, they were young. The pilot was specifically young, had not too long ago gotten his pilot's license. And if you ask me, Canada, they need to sue the United States for that accident. That's what they need to do. Okay, they need to sue the United States. But hold on, let me pull up this report. And then we got to go to Trump because Trump said just did and said the dumbest thing. And I know that we all know that he says and does stupid stuff every day. But this really took the cake, in my opinion. Okay, here we go. Let's go to this NBC News report. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Also, double check to make sure you're still subscribed. I keep telling you all that they unsubscribe people every day, and they actually have unsubscribed at least 4 or 5 people.
We're learning more about those who did not survive the crash, the jet's pilot and co-pilot.
These were 2 young men at the start of their careers, so it's an absolute tragedy.
The pilot, widely identified in Canadian media as Antoine Foray. More than 40 people, or over half the plane, had to be hospitalized. One crew member jolted out of the plane. A flight attendant, identified by her daughter to a Canadian TV station as Solange Tremblay, was found by emergency responders outside the aircraft, still strapped into her jump seat. Tremblay's daughter saying she has a broken leg. We're learning more about...
Isn't that awful? Absolutely awful. Now, Laconda just gifted 5 memberships to the Queen's channel. Thank you so much, beloved. I really appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, you all be sure to shout out Laconda Cox for donating those memberships, especially those of you who receive the memberships. Okay, that's always generous when people give memberships for others. Now, let's go to the CBS report.
Seconds of flight 8646 revealed late today by investigators. Everything right there on the cockpit voice recorder right up to the moment of impact. According to the NTSB, the fateful decision to allow a crossing of runway 4 came just 20 seconds before that Air Canada Express jet collided late Sunday with a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport. At 9 seconds, the tower told the truck to stop. At 8 seconds, there is a sound consistent with the plane landing. At 4 seconds, the tower again told the truck to stop. At 0 seconds, the recording stopped. Both pilots were killed, and they are being hailed as heroes tonight as passengers describe them hitting the brakes and slowing the plane just enough to save the lives of others. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen has more now from the scene again for us tonight. Tom, good evening.
Good evening. Well, today the NTSB gave us perhaps the clearest image into the moments leading up to that deadly crash. Investigators made it clear it wasn't just one singular problem that led to this. In their words, many things went wrong. Just before midnight on Sunday night, an air traffic controller cleared a fire truck to cross runway 4.
Truck 1 and Company LaGuardia Tower requesting to cross 4 at Delta. Truck 1 and Company cross 4 at Delta. Truck 1 and Company crossing 4 at Delta.
Seconds later, the Air Canada flight collided with the fire truck.
Stop. Truck 1, stop.
Tonight, the NTSB revealed the technology made to prevent a collision, known as the Airport Surface Detection System, or ASDX, did not activate because the fire truck did not have a transponder. That would have alerted the control tower to its precise location.
In order for ASDX to work well, you have to know where ground vehicles and aircraft are. So in this case, that vehicle did not have a transponder.
The 2 pilots died as a result of the collision. 39 people were taken to area hospitals, and 6 remain hospitalized tonight. NTSB investigators want to know if the 2 people in the fire truck heard the last-second warnings from the control tower to stop before pulling into the path of the plane. NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy said the air traffic control system needs to be better.
Controllers should have all the information and the tools to do their job. This is 2026.
The NTSB also confirmed 2 air traffic controllers were on duty at the time of the crash, calling it standard staffing for the overnight shift. Homendy said it was unclear, however, who was in charge of communicating with the vehicles on the ground when the crash happened. And NTSB said they plan to hold interviews with the on-duty air traffic controllers this afternoon. They also said that they plan to do the same with those firefighters in that truck, Tony.
Tom Hansen leading us off. Tom, thank you.
Very sad, okay? Rest in peace to those pilots. They did the best they could do. It wasn't their fault, and I'm not even going to say that it was the air controller's fault, okay? And also, someone that I know that's an air traffic controller literally said that when they work those night shifts, sometimes they're the only one out there, and there should be at least 2. Okay, so this is just all problematic at the end of the day. And all of these people quitting the airport because they're not being paid. Okay? And like I said, I think it's absolutely all by design. Now let's go to what Trump said, because this is y'all's president.
Trump finally tells the truth for once as he admits he doesn't care if the country unites or not. Now, this was today on Fox and Friends, where Donald Trump was asked about what happened with Charlie Kirk, which eventually led to him being asked, how does the country unite? And this is what he had to say.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less.
Yeah, he couldn't care less. Keep in mind, that is the president of the United States. The president of the United States, during a time when the country needs healing, the country needs a leader to bring us back together, he doesn't even care. You guys want to fight? You guys want to argue? We have a divided country. So what? I can't be bothered with it. When people say that Donald Trump is in this for himself, they are spot on, because those are the words of somebody who just doesn't care, as he admits. And when people ask me, why don't I call him President Trump and respect the office of the president? He doesn't respect the office of the president as displayed there. It's horrible. Donald Trump finally tells the truth for once as he admits he doesn't care if the country unites or not. Now, this was today on Fox.
Now, okay, here's the thing. That wasn't the video clip that I meant to go to, because we already know that Trump clearly doesn't give a darn if the country unites. Okay, we know he doesn't care about that, because for one, look at all the seeds of division that he sows with his nefarious base. But This is what I want y'all to hear right here, because Donald Trump is so stupid. He does not seem to be taking the war seriously or not even caring. And I guess he doesn't care because his children are not over there fighting and risking their lives. Okay. But at the end of the day, what he said, and then the fact that he was laughing when he said it, this man is a whole demonic idiot. Okay. So let's go to the footage, because I absolutely cannot with y'all's president.
Kuwait, they had a little mishap. They shot down 3 planes with our missiles. They happen to be our planes, but the pilots made it. Can you imagine the pilots making it? The pilots saw what was coming. And they said, those are patriots. We're not going to escape patriots. And they got out of there pretty quick, Pete, right? Pretty amazing that they got out. The 3 pilots lived. They're fine. In fact, they're flying today.
Kuwaitis that accidentally fired the missile?
Yeah, the Kuwaitis made a mistake. They fired. They thought they were firing at the enemy. It was, as the expression goes, friendly fire. But the pilots are great. They're flying today.
Now, he called it a little mishap and chuckled. I'm sorry, does he seem to be taking any of this seriously? Absolutely not. Okay, now let's go to what Governor Hochul said about the LaGuardia airplane incident or airport incident. Trump is just an idiot. Okay? He's just a whole idiot.
Of what happened last night, 11:45 p.m., were well known. Yes, it was an aviation disaster, the likes of which we have not seen here in over 3 decades. But it's a deeply human story where 2 young pilots left their homes expecting to return to their families, and they will not. And this is what pains everyone here in the state of New York. I've conveyed our condolences to the Canadian government. I have walked the halls and gone up to Port Authority personnel and police, telling them how grateful we are that they put their lives out there every single day to make sure our traveling public is safe. So to the entire Port Authority and LaGuardia family, I want you to know we are very cognizant of the traumatizing impact this has on you and indeed your own families. So I want to first convey my gratitude to all of you and sympathies to those who have had their lives shattered as a result of this and those who have sustained injuries. It's not what you expect when you get on an airplane.
Yeah, it sure isn't. Okay, now let's go to this clip where they say that Trump seems to be so confused that he doesn't even realize that he's the president. Now, I haven't seen this, but I thought this sounded interesting.
Trump walked into a press conference today holding a toy plane, an actual model aircraft, holding it, playing with it, showing it off to a reporter like it's kindergarten show and tell, while an active war is happening, while American forces are in Iranian airspace, while people are dying. And in between fondling his little prop, he decided to explain to the entire country how he personally won the Iran operation. This is the 47th president of the United States. This is the guy J.D. Vance just called a smart president. And this is the same guy who not 2 hours later forgot the name and the gender of the leader he installed in Venezuela. We are going to get into all of it.
Look at it. And I said, it's a piece of art, but how can it be effective? It's so stealth. Think of it, Peter. 1 a.m, it flies in, and they say, sir, they're in Iranian airspace. And I say, oh, and I'm watching it from the Situation Room with a couple of other very smart people, including some good generals, real generals, not television generals. And all of a sudden you see that dive. They start diving, and sure, and you see him 30,000, 20,000. Boy, I said, that was a lot. They went down fast to aim it. And they know they're coming, and they're smart, and they never saw them. And they're firing a little bit, but they don't know what they're firing at because they can't see a thing. And then you hear the biggest explosions that anybody's ever heard. Those are the biggest bombs. Outside of nuclear, those are the biggest bombs. And you say,
what are we watching? What are we even watching here? The president of the United States, the man with the nuclear codes, the man who signed off on sending aircraft into Iranian airspace, is holding a model plane, and narrating an airstrike like he's doing color commentary on a video game. They went down 30,000, 20,000. What is this? Is this a Pentagon briefing, or is this the world's most dangerous toy commercial? Real generals, not television generals. That is what he said. The man who has spent most of his political life watching television. The man who appointed advisors he discovered on Fox News. The man who has a TV bolted to the ceiling of his bedroom and treats cable news as a primary intelligence source. That guy is making fun of television generals. Okay, Donald. And then, what I built it largely. I built it during my first term. He built the B-2 stealth bomber, the aircraft that has been in development since the 1980s, since Ronald Reagan was in office. He built that. Between 2017 and 2021, Donald Trump personally engineered stealth aircraft technology.
This is how you know Trump is insane. He said he built the stealth aircraft. Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? We should all be very, very concerned. And this man, like he said, has the nuclear codes. Okay, that is very scary.
That is what he is claiming right there, out loud, with a toy in his hand at a press conference about a live war. And this is how he communicates about it. People are dead. Troops are in combat. Families are waiting. And the president is in front of cameras with a prop plane doing boom, the biggest explosions anyone has ever heard. This is
said he is not fully present. Well, you got that right, beloved. Now let's go to this next clip because this is what a pilot has to say about the stuff going on at the airport. Okay, Muad'Dib said, delusion is a hell of a drug. I absolutely agree.
You want to know how the airlines are really doing? Listen to this pilot.
I don't really care what your political persuasion is, but you should really call your senators.
All your senators.
Because I'll tell you, this is costing the airlines millions of dollars. And just think of 30 airplanes with one engine running, and it's going to take us at least 90 minutes to take off. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating for me. Because right now it's going to cost about 2 hours of our lives on the ground before we even take off, spend all that gas, all that money, and it just rolls into the rest of this system. So right now we're at a 4% reduction in flight capacity. Next week we go to 10. Last night I had a 6-hour delay in Houston, and the weather was perfect. It's because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid.
You heard what this man said at the very end there. People are not getting paid. People, this is the cold, hard reality of what these airlines are going through. Absolutely terrible. You want to know how the airlines are really...
Let's go to this next clip because this guy tells TSA that they should literally walk off the job. Well, you know, some of them have. But in my opinion, that's what the government wants them to do so they can privatize it.
What needs to happen now, and I'm going to tell you this right now, with the TSA, y'all need to walk off your jobs. No one should be going to work. You're not getting paid. Don't go to work. You need to shut all the airports down, okay, and see what Congress and all of these rich fucks are going to do then. Go to their private airports, shut it all down. That's how we lead to a general strike. And once that happens, they're going to fold like... I don't have a good analogy for you because I'm so exhausted. But you know what I'm saying. They're going to fold.
Now, let me tell you all this. Something that the lamestream media is not reporting is that the U.S. attacked Iraq. So they're attacking Iran and Iraq. I find that interesting. Watch this clip.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
ضربوا طبابتنا يا اخوي، شو اطلع لين ما نطلع، خلي يضربون شو ضربوا؟ اطلع شنو السالفه اطلع؟
حشد هنا بس عايشين مقرمات. موقر وين؟ مندل. والله مندل. انا مندل. شنو هذا؟
الى متى احنا نبغى هيك؟ هاي ولدنا يوميا جاي يروحون، هم يقولون بس على الحشد، هذول قوات امنيه، الجيش العراقي، جاي يستهدفون جاي يطرحون هاي الضحايا.
شدد الاجتماع على أن الأجهزة الأمنية
Forgot I was muted. He says Iraq called the attack a blatant and serious violation of international law
تؤدي واجباتها
and summoned the U.S. charge d'affaires in Baghdad on Wednesday. A day earlier, the U.S. was accused of striking the same site and killing 15 fighters. Well, how come we're not hearing about this, folks? This is Al Jazeera.
تمثل أحد أركان منظومة
Prompting Iraq to grant the PMF the right to respond to such attacks.
الأمنية الوطنية ما يفرض على الجميع.
The U.S. has acknowledged that it has carried out strikes against pro-Iran armed groups in Iraq. Okay, y'all hear it. It's getting worse and worse as the days go by. Now, with that all being said, okay, let's go to the latest updates. Here we go. Let's go to this clip. I want to say this is CNN. No, this is WION. U.S.-Iran war. They say Iran threatens to open new front by targeting Red Sea shipping.
No intention of negotiating with the U.S., at least for now, but President Donald Trump and his White House continue to insist that talks are ongoing. They have a warning for Iran: accept defeat or face hell. These mixed messages dashed hopes of any imminent de-escalation as the violence on the ground showed no sign of abating after almost 4 weeks. President Trump reiterated claims that Iranian leaders are part of the peace talks, suggesting that Tehran's denials are because negotiators fear being killed.
Do y'all hear that? This is how you know Trump is a liar who lies. Did y'all hear that? Trump says that the Iranian leaders are negotiating with him and that they're denying the talks because they fear being killed. These are people that don't mind dying for their cause. Do y'all hear this man? These are the same people who rejected his ceasefire. If they were afraid of being killed, they would have accepted it. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the lies. His lies make absolutely no sense. These are the same people that said, you come do it. You come open it. When Macron asked them to open the Strait of Hormuz, the same people, when asked about the U.S. troops being boots on the ground, said, we are waiting for them. Remember that? And then they just said, come closer. Sorry, scared where? They're like Bone Crusher, honey. They ain't never scared. But let's continue.
When I tell you we're winning so big, nobody's ever seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran. And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
Earlier, Iranian state media had reported that Tehran had rejected an American plan to end the war. But Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi later indicated that Iran is still reviewing the proposal.
We want the war to end, but on our terms, in a way that ensures it will not be repeated and that our enemies learn a lesson, so they will not even contemplate attacking Iran again. Second, the damage suffered by the people of Iran must be compensated.
Araghchi has also said that friendly countries have conveyed messages, but this does not amount to dialogue.
They have put forward some ideas. I saw in one or two places that it was described as a 15-point plan, but these were presented as various proposals. All of them have been conveyed to the country's senior authorities, and if it becomes necessary to take a position, that will certainly be decided. For now, our policy is to continue resisting and to continue defending the country. At present, we have no intention of negotiating, and no negotiations have taken place.
The White House, meanwhile, has said that reports on a supposed 15-point plan are not fully accurate, but did not provide specifics as well.
Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual.
She's also added that President Trump intends to hit Iran harder if Tehran fails to accept that it has been defeated militarily.
Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again.
Iran earlier, remember, had issued 5 conditions to end the war. These include guarantees that Israel or US will not resume the war. It also wants compensation for war damages and the cessation of hostilities on all regional fronts. It has demanded to exercise sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran has threatened to open up a new front by targeting the Red Sea shipping as well. Iran could block the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which connects the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. This threat comes as thousands of more American troops are headed to the region, and reports say that Pentagon is thinking of sending more. The White House has refused to comment on potential for boots on the ground, but it did say that it would require formal authorization from the Congress. Any such request may face resistance within the Congress. Remember, Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace has said that she will not be supporting the deployment of the U.S. troops after a briefing on the conflict.
None of them need to support it because they're just going to get all these soldiers killed, or a good amount of them. Okay, so now let's go to this report from Times of India, because we can't trust the lamestream news, clearly. And Odd Negroes officials ask, Odd Negroes officials ask, y'all saw the video of Iran blowing up the Statue of Liberty? Yeah, I just showed that, beloved. We already had a whole discussion about it.
The Middle East is on the edge of a dangerous new escalation. A powerful warning has just been issued, and it could open an entirely new front in the Iran war. Yemen is no longer holding back. It is warning Arab states over what it calls a Zionist conspiracy and openly backing Iran in the escalating conflict. The message is stark: choose sides, or risk being seen as part of the war itself. A top Yemeni leader has now drawn a red line: stand with Iran against aggression, or do not become a tool in a rapidly unfolding regional confrontation. In a dramatic statement, Mahdi al-Mashat, chairman of Yemen's Supreme Political Council, has reaffirmed unwavering solidarity with Tehran. He warned Arab nations against becoming tools in what he described as a coordinated U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran. Speaking amid rising tensions, Mashat made it clear that Yemen stands firmly with Iran. He emphasized that Tehran has the full right to defend itself and confront what he called aggressor regimes. The warning did not stop there. Mashat directly addressed Arab and Islamic nations with a stark message: if they cannot help defeat what he termed a Zionist conspiracy, they must not assist in implementing it. This statement comes against the backdrop of escalating hostilities that began on February 28th. U.S. and Israeli airstrikes reportedly targeted Iran, assassinating senior officials and military commanders. Iran has since responded with sustained retaliation. Missile and drone strikes have been launched almost daily. Targets include Israeli-linked locations and U.S. military assets spread across the region. The conflict is no longer contained. It is expanding, and Yemen appears ready to step in. Yemen's Ansarullah movement has also reinforced its support for Iran. In a statement, the group congratulated Tehran on its retaliatory operations. It claimed that the attacks on Iran are part of a broader attempt to give Israel unchecked control over the region. According to the group, Iran is not just defending itself, it is defending the wider region, the Islamic world, and what it described as sacred values. Tensions are spiraling fast as Yemen's Ansarullah
Okay, they said they're ready to step directly into the fire. Now let's go to this video with Abbas Arakchi speaking again. Nobody is trusting the United States at this point, and it's for good reason.
Negotiations have taken place so far. I state firmly that there has been no negotiation or dialogue with the American side. However, in recent days, the American side has begun sending various messages through different intermediaries. Messages being conveyed through our friendly countries and us responding by stating our positions or issuing the necessary warnings is not called negotiation or dialogue. It is simply an exchange of messages through our friends. They have put forward some ideas. I saw in one or two places that it was described as a 15-point plan, but these were presented as various proposals. All of them have been conveyed to the country's senior authorities, and if it becomes necessary...
Okay, we heard this already. They're playing this. Hold on. Okay, we heard that already. They're playing the same thing. So here's the thing. He's basically saying that the 15 points that the U.S. put out, the 15 points that they were asking for, those are various things. So basically, they could do any of those things, I would imagine. Okay, because that's what it sounds like he's explaining. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, let's continue. Everyone please like and share. Now they're saying that some of the Republicans are upset with Donald Trump. Okay, and they're flipping. They're flipping because they said Donald Trump is giving conflicting statements and all sorts of things.
There are conflicting claims about the talks to end the war with Iran. Iran launching new strikes overnight, insisting no negotiations are taking place.
Meantime, President Trump is facing a backlash on Capitol Hill, with some Republicans now demanding answers about the war. ABC's Sophie Fillet has details.
This morning, some Republicans venting their frustration with the Trump administration after a classified briefing on the war in Iran. They claim Pentagon officials would not provide details on when or how ground troops might be used and what the war has cost so far. Our Rachel Scott is on Capitol Hill.
The top Republican on the House Armed Services Committee telling reporters we want to know more about what's going on, what the options are, and why they're being considered, saying we're just not getting enough answers to those questions.
Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace saying the justifications presented to the American public for the war in Iran were not the same military objectives we were briefed on. The longer this war continues, the faster it will lose the support of Congress and the American people. A new poll shows 34% of voters approve of how President Trump is handling Iran. 59% disapprove. Trump last night insisted Iran is negotiating even after it publicly rejected his 15-point peace proposal.
They want to make a deal so badly.
Central Command says U.S. forces have now hit 10,000 targets in Iran, destroying nearly all of its largest Navy ships.
We've damaged or destroyed over 2/3 of Iran's missile, drone, and naval production facilities and shipyards, and we're not done yet.
But Iran says the Strait of Hormuz, the key shipping route for oil and gas, remains closed to enemy ships, fueling growing concern about long-term prices. The Postal Service, for the first time, now plans to impose an 8% fuel surcharge on packages, possibly beginning next month. Diesel prices are up 40% since the war began. Some truckers, delivering everything from lumber to machinery to gardening supplies, are now charging up to 40 cents more per mile. One analyst calls it an off-the-charts increase. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
True Green pros are...
This is absolutely nefarious, and it's only going to get worse, as I told you all. Okay, the prices will continue to soar. And they're basically saying that Trump is confused. Okay. They say Trump seems to be confused about Iran's objectives during this war. But that does seem true because Trump's a whole idiot. Okay, please pay attention. And it's like he's not even taking this seriously, bringing toy airplanes, okay, saying that he invented the stealth aircraft and all this dumb stuff, making up lies about negotiations that aren't even happening or occurring, then saying that Iran's leaders, he said they didn't have any leaders, didn't he? Didn't he say they didn't have any leaders? He said all the leaders were dead and nobody was in charge. Isn't that what he said? But now he claims that they're having talks with the leaders. Who's having these talks? Him, Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff? Which ones? Because they already said they're not talking to Steve Witkoff or Jared, and we know they're not talking to Trump. Okay, so they're requested to speak to JD Vance, but we haven't heard anything about that. Trump's just lying. Okay, and I don't know how the MAGA millions with their stupid selves are still believing what this man is selling. He's using our soldiers as cannon fodder. Okay, that's what he's doing, and it's very sad. Okay, and absolutely nefarious, as far as I'm concerned. All right. Soul Sister says this man is all that he said Joe Biden is. Get him out now. Exactly. Denise says it would be a shock if they lose support from Congress. Yeah, right. Right. The Congress is already not doing anything, basically. Shawshot said exactly. Is he talking to himself? Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. He's delusional. And like I said, he's using the soldiers as cannon fodder, which basically means he's using them and acting as though they're expendable, like they're not important, like their lives don't mean anything. Okay, this is just what they're supposed to do. Go to war, and if you die, you die. That's basically what he's doing and how he's acting, sitting there laughing about jets getting shot down over Kuwait. Okay, and just telling all kinds of stupid lies, but let's continue. This is all crazy.
Security Advisor, Ambassador John Bolton. And thank you for being here. I mean, as someone who obviously used to spend a lot of time inside the Situation Room with the president, when you hear what he says there, do you believe it matters what the president calls this?
Well, I think he's been looking for some time for a way to get out of this. And although it started as a regime change operation, which I think was the right objective, I think he's been nervous about the outcome for some time. It's not unusual for presidents to try and disguise what's actually going on. Let's not forget, Harry Truman called the war in Korea a police exercise, a police operation. But I think it shows that Trump is confused about what his objectives are, and that doesn't bode well.
I mean, the White House says it's been very clear what their objectives are.
And Vince, that is my question, beloved. It says, why are the Democrats silent? Why aren't they talking about impeachment? Exactly. I don't know what's going on with them. It just seems like some of them must be in the Epstein files. And this is just my opinion, taking money from AIPAC, one of the two. And so they're not saying a darn thing. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention because that's pretty much what it boils down to, if you ask me.
You don't think it is?
Well, how many have they named over the course of the last 3+ weeks? I think the correct objective is to overthrow the regime. I don't think it's going to negotiate with any seriousness at all. I don't think that's what they want. And I don't think that there's anybody in this regime with whom we can negotiate. If we weren't prepared to stick this out, then I don't think the president ever should have started it.
I mean, we've seen the president saying that Iran really wants to make a deal. The White House today, even when asked by my colleague, Kristen Holmes, who exactly they're speaking with, still haven't said who that person is. Do you think these talks are genuine, or do you think the president is buying time?
Well, it could be he's buying time to assemble this additional military capability. Perhaps he just wants to show he's trying to be reasonable, but the chances of reaching an acceptable agreement with this regime, no matter how many of their leaders we have killed, is zero. And what we need to do is continue destroying the instruments of Iranian state power, like the Revolutionary Guard and its subsidiaries, the Quds Force, which threatens us and Israel and the Gulf Arabs externally, and the Besieged militia, which threatens its people internally. By doing that, we are destabilizing the regime. We're not looking for somebody within the regime we can negotiate with, but somebody outside, somebody from the regular army, not caught up in the extreme fanatic views of the regime itself.
On Karg Island, you said that you think the United States should block Iranian oil shipments and take Karg Island. I mean, we're seeing this troop build up. And we were just talking last night about the 82nd Airborne, what exactly they're designed to do. Do you think that that is something that they're actively preparing for, not just keeping options open? Do you think taking Karg Island is a real thing we could see in the next few days or weeks?
Well, you know, if we had taken Karg Island about 3 weeks ago, when it still would have been a surprise to the Iranians, that might have made some sense. I think the main thing is to stop the flow of Iranian oil onto the world market. I don't understand why we didn't blockade the Strait of Hormuz ourselves at the beginning.
I'm sorry, didn't I tell you all that? Okay, didn't I literally tell you all that? That the U.S., if they had been smart and competent, as clearly they're not, cake's breath, Trump. But didn't I tell y'all they should have taken the Strait of Hormuz from the get-go? They should have known Iran was going to go after it. This is all crazy. But let's continue.
To allow any Iranian oil to get out was a mistake. To waive sanctions on Iranian oil is a mistake. We don't want to finance the Iranian regime in its military campaign against our service members. So at this point, I think Karg Island, I mean, one way to look at it might be is a deception operation. Let the Iranian authorities put all kinds of mines on Karg Island and around it and divert their attention from something else. That may be what's at work.
Okay, now I'm going to continue. Lights up, everyone. Please like and share. Let's go to this oil tanker that was blown up. Then we're going to go to a retired veteran who was in Iraq, okay, during the Iraq War, and what he has to say about this whole thing with Iran.
1,000 seafarers are stranded in the Middle East, all caught in the crossfire of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. And the captain of this oil tanker was one of them.
It was quite intense. You could actually see projectiles and naval and air force services.
Wow. How did your crew respond to that?
Initially, crew were in a state of shock because there was something tangible then when we could see something actually flying over.
After 3 weeks, the captain is now on safe passage. He's out of the region. Iran's selective blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has affected thousands of ships, all of them exposed to mines and explosive drones. Since the start of the war, there have been at least 7 seafarer deaths and more than a dozen vessels attacked near Iran. The UN's shipping agency is calling for a safe corridor to protect and to evacuate seafarers from the Gulf. And Iran now says what it calls non-hostile ships may cross the Strait of Hormuz on its terms. Look, more vessels are crossing, but the future here is unclear.
Can vessels even cross safely when the entire region is a war zone?
One particular party may say it will allow safe passage, but conditions of safe passage depend on various factors. And parties involved are too many.
Now let's see what this veteran has to say. This is all just a hot mess that we have gotten ourselves into.
If you hurt someone, if you maim them, if you kill them, their family, their government, people who care about them have every right to retaliate. If you don't understand that, then I don't know what to tell you because you probably aren't very smart. You know, I might not have a college degree, but I spent 22 years in the Army, and I understand that. I understand that you cannot expect them to not retaliate if you hurt them or take away their family members. These are human beings. Just because you've been lied to and you don't like them, just because you're a Christian and they're Muslim and you don't accept their religion, that doesn't give you the right to kill them, to maim them, to injure them, to take away their loved ones for a country that doesn't give two shits about American citizens, much less our military men and women. That's what we're there for. We're there for you know who. We're not there for us. So if you accept what's going on, but you don't expect retaliation, then you might want to wake the fuck up, because they have every right to. And when it happens, you can only blame yourselves for voting for it.
Okay, he said what he said. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this clip that just came in 4 minutes ago, because now they're saying breaking news. Pete Kegsbreath gives an update on the war with Iran, saying this is stuff for the history books. I can't wait to hear the word salad. But also, it's important to note that after this, let's go to breaking news. Trump issues a bellicose warning to Iran. Did he now? We're going to go to that. And for those of you who don't know what a bellicose warning is, this is basically him talking real tough, saying that they're about to get even more aggressive and they're coming and they're bringing hell with them. That's what he's saying in a nutshell. Okay? Please pay attention. That's right. Queen Sam said the wrong side of history. Okay? Now let's go to the footage. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. 441 people in the chat. Let's get the likes up. Thank you.
Pete Hegseth, please. Mr. President. I'll start kind of where you left off, Mr. President. Thank you for doing the work of the free world and having the courage to step up and stop the Iranian terror regime from holding the world hostage. That's really what it is. And 27 days ago, Iran had a modern military. Never in recorded history has a nation's military been so quickly and effectively neutralized. Operation Epic Fury is not an endless war. It's a decisive campaign with clear objectives to destroy Iran's offensive military capabilities and ensure they never obtain a nuclear weapon. This is stuff for the history books. This is stuff for legacy. Mr. President, you are acting now to ensure future generations do not have to live under the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran. However, you wouldn't know it if you listened to the dishonest hate Trump media, as you referenced. The folks here in the room, these cameras, they have a choice. You're either informing the American people of the truth or you're not. Because I hear it from my people every day. Behind every headline you write, there's a helicopter crew in the air. And behind every news banner you write, there's a battalion on the move. And behind every fake news story, there's an F-35 pilot executing a dangerous mission. My message to the media is get it right.
Oh, I'm sorry, the media. Get it right. What media is he talking about? Because we already know that CBS and Fox News are lying for them, allegedly. Let me just say that. At the end of the day, going along with the propaganda, because they're definitely spewing that. Okay, that's not even alleged. There's clearly propaganda being put out. Okay, the only news sources that you could really trust, in my opinion, from the U.S. would be PBS and MS Now. Okay, the others are questionable. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's let this fool continue, because he sounds real stupid. And then, like I said, we're going to go to Trump so we can find out about this bellicose warning.
This actually isn't something new to me. I may be a young guy, Mr. President, but I'm not a rookie in this realm. In 2007, I helped lead the surge, the public fight for the Iraq surge. Stood and watched people stand in the Senate and declare the war is lost before it even started. Who was that? It was Harry Reid. That was the Democrats and the media working hand in glove. Back then, it was 3 years into a war. Now we're 3 weeks into an operation. But see, unlike Iraq, this isn't a tie. This is not parity. This is not chaos. This is success, pure American success, on plan, and as the president said, ahead of pace.
Hold on. He said this is not a tie. Is that what he said? Is he trying to say that the Iraq war was a tie or acting like the U.S. won? Because they lost. Because the U.S. lost the Iraq war. What's he talking about? Okay, is he serious right about now? They absolutely lost that war. Do y'all remember anything different? Somebody let me know. Okay, it was widely considered, mind you, a strategic failure or loss because it failed to achieve the long-term stability, democracy, okay, the key geopolitical goals that they thought they were seeking. Okay, and they also lost the war with Afghanistan because 20 years in and y'all still left with the Taliban in charge, and that's who was in charge when you got there. And you were supposed to take them out of power, but you didn't. So please miss me with it. Pete Kegg's breath, please stop with the BS.
10,000 enemy targets destroyed, over 140, I think now you're right, Mr. President, over 150 naval vessels sunk, underground facilities destroyed, their defense industrial base in shambles, and overnight, not only do they not have a Navy, Mr. President, they no longer have a Navy commander. IRGC.
And Kegg's breath keeps on saying, Shoshana said, can someone wake Trump up? Yes. Here's the thing. That's why Kegg's breath keeps addressing him to try to wake him back up because he can see it from his peripheral that he's asleep and he already knows it. Okay, please pay attention. This is all crazy. Alice said Trump is asleep. Of course he is. When isn't he, beloved? He's up all through the night posting crazy stuff on Truth Social, but then during the day when business is to be conducted, he wants to take a nap. Please make it all make sense.
Navy commander was killed overnight in operation. So no Navy leader. Now that here's the thing about the media, though. If President Trump had not acted, you'd be.
Listen, did y'all see that? Did y'all see how Trump's head just popped up when Kegg's breath said something about him? Hold on. Let me go back. This man is taking a good old nap. You man said he can't stay away. Lieutenant Maxwell said, this administration is a clown show. But let me go back just a bit, because I swear his head popped up when Kegg's breath said his name. Hold on.
Overnight in operation. So no Navy leader. Now that here's the thing about the media, though. If President Trump had not acted, you'd be screaming, why not?
Did y'all see it? Did y'all see it?
And now that he has taken decisive action, you're asking, well, why did you? It's the same old tired playbook, TDS in your DNA. But the hardworking, God-fearing, patriotic Americans out there know better. And you alluded to this, President Obama.
For those of you who don't know, when he says TDA in your DNA, did he try to throw bars? TDS in your DNA. Is that what he said? He's talking about Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, they gave it a name. Let's continue.
Mr. President, here's a fact that you don't hear on your networks that we know. Many of the Iranian military factories and bases that we're systematically destroying were paid for by the pallets of American cash that Barack Obama flew into Tehran under the Iran deal. You might call it an inconvenient truth. Iran took our money and turned it into weapons and bunkers and ammo. And now we're destroying those weapons and you're righting, Mr. President, that grievous wrong. And make no mistake, we had to act. And our objectives are clear. No nukes, no Navy, and a complete dismantling of their missile program and defense industrial base. And as Marco pointed out, that mission, and the VP as well, has not changed since day one. Yet, 2 days ago, they shot 2 failed missiles on a target 4,000 kilometers away. For years, they told the world that their missiles could only range 2 kilometers. Surprise. Yet again, Iran lied. And to the world.
So what if they did lie? First of all, Bibi and them are not even giving anybody information about their nuclear capabilities. Okay? So why aren't they talking about that? I find it all interesting. Someone needs to get Trump a pillow. Okay? They need to get him a pillow because this man is tired.
Well, I say London is 4,000 kilometers from Iran. Washington, D.C. is 3,300 kilometers from Venezuela, another country President Trump did something about that partnered for a long time with Iran. So you're telling us that Iran is not a threat to the world or to the U.S. President Trump knows better. And here's what success actually looks like right now. You mentioned it, Mr. President. A-10 Warthogs, if you know them, you love them, and Apache helicopter gunships are flying strike missions inside Iranian airspace and throughout the Strait of Hormuz at will. See, you only send these slow, low-flying, close air support platforms when the enemy has no meaningful air defenses left. Their presence is proof that Iran's air defenses are gone. Their command and control is shattered, their top leaders hiding in underground bunkers, while their mid-level commanders are being crushed in the field. The morale of their fighters plummeting. We see that disconnect daily.
Okay, now you know he's lying and projecting, because how could he possibly know that Iran's soldiers are losing morale? Like their morale is plummeting, like it's going down, like they're not any longer motivated or inspired or encouraged to keep fighting, like they're ready to give up. This man is a liar. How could he possibly know that? Did the Iranian soldiers come and tell him that? No, he's talking about U.S. soldiers. Please pay attention. U.S. soldiers, their morale is down. And as it should be, because they know that they're fighting a war that's a losing battle. And they know that this is all propaganda being spewed by Trump and Keg's breath. They're the ones losing morale. And I feel so bad for our soldiers. They need to come home. Okay, they need to come home. At the end of the day, Trump, please wake your arse up. We have a war to fight.
They're privately admitting, as you said, Mr. President, very heavy losses. We know that. President Trump has given us a clear mission. Our capabilities are only going up and Iran's are plummeting. We are here to win, and we're full speed ahead. So, Steve, we appreciate your efforts. We pray for a deal, and we welcome a deal, and we have the ultimate deal maker to make it happen. But in the meantime, as I said yesterday, the Department of War will continue negotiating with bombs. War is negotiation by other means. And finally, I want to thank our incredible troops, our pilots, crews, sailors, refuelers, air defenders, the absolute best of America, the real 1% of our country. This President Trump has your back. And I know this cabinet prays for you every single day. And we ask the American people to do the same as they continue in this mission. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great.
He had the nerve to wake up towards the end talking about thank you very much. Not thank you very much. Okay, so now let's go to the Queen, are you calling him cat's breath? This is absolutely nefarious. Now listen, we're about to go to this next clip where Trump calls for the bellicose warning, and then Putin has something to say. Even America can't predict Putin's bombshell. Ooh, honey, this is about to get real serious, okay? Let's get into it. Because we already know that Trump does not want it with Putin. That's what we do know. And I knew this was coming.
An update on the Operation Epic Fury, which is an appropriate name because we are absolutely obliterating them. Over the past 3 weeks, we've been hitting Iran's military capabilities at a level that few people have ever seen before. People never knew there was such a capability.
Let me just say this. We had better not, okay? I want you all to pay attention. We had better not hear anything else from today forward about Iran launching missiles, because Keg's breath just told us that they didn't have any more. Isn't that what he said? And all their leaders are underground in bunkers. Like they're scared. We know who's been in an underground bunker, and their name is Satan Yahoo, aka BB. That's who's been in the underground bunker. Okay. And so have some of the IDF soldiers. I showed you all the footage. Okay, so that's undeniable. But let's continue.
The strongest military anywhere in the world by far. I built it during my first administration, and I used it during my second administration. Unfortunately, because I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a display of force and precision and skill like nothing the world has really witnessed, although you got a pretty good witnessing of it in Venezuela also. And that was a smaller version of what we're doing now. We're crushing their missiles and drone stockpiles, destroying their defense industrial base. We've wiped out their Navy completely, their Air Force completely. We've wiped out a large percentage of their missiles. And the missile launchers, without the launchers, the missiles don't do any good. And we've knocked out probably close to 90% of the launchers. Probably more than 90% of the missiles themselves. Between some they fired and more than they fired, we knocked out. We've also destroyed a lot of the factories. We're continuing to do that, but a lot of the factories where they manufacture the drones and the missiles. The drones, too, are way down. But the reason they're down is they go one way and they don't come back. Because for the most part, we're shooting them down. But we also are able to, we've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they
No, we don't understand, Trump. We don't understand why they'd want to make a deal. So can you please explain it to us? Why the people that are actively winning, the people that have the ups, okay, the people that are sending you a whole L and have been doing so since February the 28th, please explain to us, okay, the American public, why the hell they'd want to make a deal and why they would be the ones begging and not you. Okay, please pay attention. Now, just days ago, Trump told us with his lying lips that Iran sent him a gift. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that, right? He said they sent him a darn gift. Okay, this man is telling all kinds of lies, but he wants to call everybody else fake news. He is fake news. Okay, nothing but a propagandist machine.
say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators.
Lousy fighters.
And they are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office, because 2 years ago they had free reign under Biden. Sleepy Joe, worst president in the history of our country. What he allowed to happen to our country at the borders, and even with a thing like this. But not just him. Every president for 47 years, every president should have done this. They should have done it a long time ago, because you cannot give lunatics a nuclear weapon. And
if you can't give lunatics nuclear weapons, why in the hell does Satan Yahoo have them? Okay? He's a whole maniac.
they would have had a big one. It stopped really when we did the B-2, but even before that, the Barack Hussein Obama, what he did where he gave them the Iran nuclear deal, gave them free will toward a nuclear weapon. Basically, he chose Iran over Israel and others that didn't want him to do it. But I terminated that deal. Had I not terminated that deal, you would have had a nuclear weapon years ago, and it would have been used, guaranteed. And one of the reasons you know about the guarantee is because their neighbors were sort of like bystanders. They weren't involved very much. They didn't choose heavy sides. They didn't want to, because people were concerned with Iran. There was a big black cloud over the Middle East. They were concerned, but all of a sudden the war starts, and they start shooting at these five, in particular, 5 countries. They start shooting at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They start shooting at them, and everybody was shocked, including us.
So he basically just admitted that they underestimated them. He said everybody was shocked, including us. That means that he didn't think that they would start attacking the military bases, U.S. military bases in the Gulf countries. Okay, the Gulf states. He didn't think that. How dumb could he be? How dumb could he be? Okay? At the end of the day, that should have been obvious.
You know why? Because they're sick. And they had a plan to take over the Middle East. And some of those missiles that were shot at them were locked.
That's Bibi's plan to take over the Middle East. Stop it. All of the chaos in the Middle East has been caused by Bibi. Facts.
Long before we even started this process, they were locked and loaded and aimed at those countries. They wanted to take over the Middle East. But we happened to come along, so it wasn't so easy. So right now, their Navy is sunk in the largest elimination of a foreign Navy that has taken place, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled. And one of the problems they do have when they deal with us is we deal with people and the people aren't able to communicate with anybody else, because all of their leadership has been gone. The first level is gone, and they met to pick a new level, and they're gone. They're all gone because they didn't make a deal and because they're sick.
He keeps on trying to demonize these people, but sitting there in cahoots with Bibi, who's absolutely sick. Okay? I'm sorry. Have y'all seen the videos of what IDF soldiers have done to people in Gaza? I'm sorry. Please make it all make sense. He needs to direct that somewhere else. But in the meantime, let's go to Janta Ka, reporter. Okay? Because I was watching a report that he did a few hours ago talking about how Trump has taken a double whammy as Iran tightens grip on Hormuz after rejecting the deal. The deal that Trump claims they're begging for. Okay? I don't know how stupid he thinks that we are. The only fools are his MAGA cult members. And he needs to get that through his head and stop trying to spread the propaganda to the rest of us because we're not buying it. Okay? Nobody else is that ignorant. I'm going to put an overlay on this. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Oh, crazy.
Master Benjamin. Iran conflict would have a catastrophic impact on the world economy for years to come.
See a year from now oil at $40 a barrel, or I could see it above $150 a barrel. Well, we have two very extreme outcomes. And in my conversations throughout the world with the US government, all that, to me, everybody has to recognize there's not going to be an outcome that's somewhere in the middle. It's going to either be two extremes. Is Iran a country that can be accepted by the international community? Can Iran be a country that participates in the world again? And if that outcome occurred, then you could have the Iranian oil back into the marketplace alongside the growth of the Venezuelan oil. And you could paint a picture where oil prices could be lower than they were prior to the Iranian war. If there's a cessation of war, and yet Iran remains a threat to trade, a threat to the Straits of Hormuz, then I would argue that we could have years of, above $100, closer to $150 oil.
What happens to the global economy if that happens? How do we see it?
We'll have global recession.
What Fink is saying here is that for the global economy to avoid global recession, the US and the wider West will have to embrace Iran as a normal country and allow it to sell its oil in the international market without any restrictions. Will this be acceptable to motormouth Trump or his war criminal friend Netanyahu? If not, then the other alternative is to face biting recession for a very, very long time. Anyone who has seen the global recession or remember that period of 2008 would know what a few months of economic downturn had done to the world economy and average households. It took years for us to recover from the aftershock of that recession.
It absolutely did take years to recover from that. So it'll be worse. It can absolutely get a whole lot worse. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this retired U.S. Army Major General who gives his reasons for his biggest concern with U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. Now, this just came up 23 minutes ago. This is breaking news. So I want to hear what he has to say because I'm willing to bet I got a sneaking suspicion that he's going to say exactly what the Queen told y'all about 2 weeks ago. Okay? So let's see, shall we? Because clearly I know more about war than Pete Cake's breath with his stupid self. Let's not forget he was just formerly a contributor to Fox News. Okay?
I'll start with you here since we were just leaving off where the defense secretary was speaking. Your reaction to what we just heard from both Witkoff as well as the Secretary of Defense. What does it mean in terms of the place we are in right now in this war?
The unfortunate thing that I see right now is that both Witkoff and the Secretary of War have indicated that there is no potential off-ramp for Iran, that what they are trying to achieve is essentially just a complete stall tactic. There truly is an off-ramp for Iran, and I think there is the necessity for an off-ramp for the United States and Israel at this point. The fact that we are, if I can drop down for a second, into kind of the body of a campaign like this, we're at the point now where there's an air tasking order. It was mentioned by the correspondent in Israel. The air tasking order has a list 1 to N of all the targets that you want to strike. That's great. We've got the capacity to do that. The key is for what desired end state. We don't know what that means. I mean, we can keep hitting targets every day, all day long, and have success, but that success is leading ? To where? That's the end state that has not been stated. We don't have a strategy. We just don't have that strategy up front. There could be a recommended strategy, which is, look, we want to delay Iran's capacity to intimidate and threaten its neighbors. But where does it go from there? Well, it belongs to the Iranian people to decide that.
And we're hearing from Witkoff now confirming this 15-point plan, saying they provided a 15-point action list to the Iranians through intermediary in Pakistan. And he also said they've told Iran that one last thing, don't miscalculate again. Richard Hawes, what do you make of that? And the fact that the president keeps on reiterating this idea that Iran is begging to negotiate while Iran continues to loudly deny that that is the case.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is the first look at the current industry.
Look, and all I can say is I don't see signs that Iran is begging to negotiate. To the contrary, even though we are, quote unquote, winning the traditional war, we are destroying more things by far than Iran is. All my memories here are Vietnam. It sounds a little bit to me like Robert McNamara's Pentagon talking about body counts. But Iran is fighting a very different war. They're fighting a war against societies, against the energy infrastructure, potentially the water desalinization plants of its neighbors. It's not allowing others to use the Strait of Hormuz. So we can win the quote unquote battlefield war until the cows come home. But I don't see it translating into a lasting strategic situation with the Strait.
Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't I tell you all this? Isn't it exactly what I said? I said, even if we take out more of their people, more of their soldiers, their military, we're still not going to win the war because we're going to be left with the after effects. Okay, that's going to last us for quite some time. Okay, so please pay attention. How stupid could our administration be, or Trump's administration?
Strait of Hormuz with Iran's nuclear program, that's in our interest. I also hear nothing about war termination. There's still a fundamental misreading of Iran. I wonder whether anyone has studied the 10-year history of the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. This is a resilient society. This is an organized, institutionalized society. They're not going to simply capitulate. Regime change isn't at hand. And the gap between what the United States has put out in its 15-point plan and what the Iranians have put out, the gap's enormous for the most part. So we have got to get serious. Either we're going to continue to fight this war in a perpetual way, or we have to move things towards an attempt, not clear it's going to succeed, at negotiation. And I still don't see this administration willing to make that choice.
General, across the board, we hear from experts like yourself, people who've been on the battlefield, as well as those who are just kind of taking a look at the overarching objectives as well as what's been accomplished so far. When you look at the military successes, CENTCOM puts out these numbers, 10,000 plus targets struck, 92% of Iran's largest naval vessels destroyed, 2/3 of Iran's missile, drone, naval production facilities and shipyards destroyed. That's all according to CENTCOM. I mean, that sounds like a great success, and yet you still have Iran on the attack, striking Israel, striking Arab nations. Is it surprising that Iran still has this level of military capability?
I think what we failed to understand is over the course of years, Iran has developed this really modernized military with incredible control mechanisms. But what they've created is, I think the term is a mosaic kind of a strategy, in that they have established elements of resilience. They've dispersed command and control activities. They've spread themselves out throughout the society and throughout this incredibly large nation. And they operate on what I would call mission orders. If I drop communications with you, if I'm suddenly lost, I'm going to keep doing what I was told to do and what I think is in the best interest in my understanding of the intent. That's what we're facing right now. So drones still exist. Loiter drones still exist. Loiter drones that can go after an F-35. Capability to interdict the Straits of Hormuz. An individual that has that kind of capability and that reach will be able to provide damage. Look, the Iranians have the ability to escalate at a far quicker pace than we do, and they can achieve those escalatory results in terms of the splash that it makes across the board. We can go after all these targets. It won't necessarily have any additional effect on Iran's ability to resist. This is a regime that we decapitated, a new one stepped in. It's chaotic, it's bloodied, but those control mechanisms still exist. I mean, the long-term horizon for Iran is much greater than the horizon is for us. We're talking weeks and days in terms of a determination about what our next steps look like. What does a transition look like? In terms of Iran, they can hold out for a couple of years.
Wow, years. That is eye-opening. Richard, we heard the president in his opening remarks call NATO a paper tiger and criticize U.S. allies for not lending military support to this war effort. How do you think that's being received, especially as we see the global economy shaken because of what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, the Europeans are not highly dependent on the Middle East for their oil or gas. They get maybe 10% of it, but they are, like us, affected by the knock-on economic effects. Look, this was not a war they were asked about. There was no consultations. There's an old line with the Atlantic Alliance. It's not enough to expect the Europeans to be in on the landings. They've also got to be in on the takeoffs. Well, they weren't in on the takeoff here. They would have argued strongly against it. They've also had real disagreements with this administration over tariffs, over the war in Ukraine, over policy towards Russia. That said, I think the Europeans understand. I was just meeting with a group of Europeans earlier this week, and I think they're open to the idea of potentially doing something with the Strait of Hormuz. What they need from the United States is a viable operational plan or mission, and we haven't come up with one. They're not interested in seizing Karg Island. Escorting individual tankers makes no operational or economic sense. So the question is, are there things we could do, perhaps a blockade, as I've suggested, to put pressure on Iran? Or perhaps once there's an agreement on the Strait of Hormuz, the Europeans could be part of the operational plan behind it. So I think these consultations need to continue, because again, the last thing we need is yet another source of profound disagreement across the Atlantic.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. With that all being said, listen. Oh, you know what? Damn it. Hold on. I should not have clicked off of that, darn it, because she was just about to get into the ground troops. Okay, let me see if I can find that clip. But while I'm looking for it again, let's go to this nuclear crisis fears, okay, that just came in. This report came in an hour ago, and they're talking to the Iranian ambassador. He talks about a grave risk. This I this I am. You know what? You better sit down somewhere.
US threats to target Iran's power plants, including its biggest one, and what would be the consequences for the environment and the people?
First of all, we should look at the situation in a broader and larger scope. Indeed, we were in the middle of the political negotiation in Geneva that the US started this war and committed the act of aggression, which is a crime according to the international law, of course, with the assistance and help of the Israeli regime. They committed this crime against the Charter of the United Nations, which completely prohibits the use of force, even the threat of force against other countries. They waged the war with brutality. On the first day, they attacked the primary school, killing more than 160 students. Their age from 7 to 12 years old. It's a kind of tactic used by the terrorist group like Daesh and ISIS. So they started this war, and we only defended our people, or country, or territory. But they continued to attack the infrastructure in Iran, the residential area, hospitals, the schools, and killed many innocent people. So in the broader context, indeed, this is not new, the threat against the power plant. Indeed, they have already violated what we call it the international humanitarian law, which completely prohibits the attack on the civilian infrastructure, civilian areas, and residential areas. The threat targeting the power plant, of course, will have great consequences, because the electricity used by the millions, not only in Iran, because we have the indeed connection with the neighboring countries. So millions of civilians will be affected if anything happens to the decrease of the production of the electricity. Even the US officials, including their ambassadors to the United Nations, included in the target the nuclear power plant. We have a huge nuclear power plant in Bushehr. If been attacked, then the consequences would be much, much grave. And it is a very serious crime, because the possibility of indeed release of the radioactive material beyond the border of Iran. You know, the Bushehr power plant is located in the coastal area of the Persian Gulf. And all the water in the Persian Gulf, in Oman Sea, and elsewhere nearby will be polluted. And the water is being used by our brothers in the southern part of the Persian Gulf for drinking water. And the radiation will be disseminated to those areas, and they should, the people should evacuate the area. So the consequences of possibility of attacking a nuclear power plant, which indeed indicated by the US ambassador to UN, is very grave mistake, and it is against the international law. It is against the international humanitarian law. So in short, what I can say that the threat made by the US seems that either they don't know the consequences, or they want to create such a situation which will affect everybody in the region, in the Persian Gulf region and even beyond.
Okay, so do they not know the consequences with their silly selves? Okay, please pay attention. Now, in response to Lieutenant Maxwell's comment about Iranian enslaving people, the great Snafu says, what slave markets are operating in Iran? None. There's no slave markets operating in Iran, beloved. I promise you. Slavery was abolished in Iran in 1929. Look it up. Okay, so I don't know where Lieutenant Maxwell got that information, but that's not true. They have not had slavery in that country since 1929, and that's just a fact. Now let's go back to this retired Major General and what he was saying, because he's about to get into this troops being boots on the ground when I left off.
Recently been deployed to Iran, or at least the region, I should say. This is a group that, as I understand it, typically goes in at the beginning of a conflict, while the president here is saying we're near the end, 26 days in. He says we're way ahead of schedule. If you were among those being deployed on this mission, how are you looking at it?
Well, I think it's not clear what the mission is going to be once those boots hit the ground, wherever they are initially deployed. It provides the Central Command commander optionality.
Hold on. Lieutenant Maxwell says there never should have been slavery of our people in the first place. That's my point. Well, we know nobody should not have been enslaved. That's very true. Okay, that's very true. But what does that have to do with Iran? Because the way you framed it, you were saying it, beloved, as though Iran is doing that right now. Because you said that's what they're doing in Libya, and that's what Iran is doing, and that's not the case. Okay, let's not forget who freed the black hostages. Okay. Yeah, and the white hostages stayed in custody for like another whole 3 years. And why did they do that? Because they said black people are oppressed. Okay. Now, with that all being said, Malisi says, Queen, I watched an interview from a U.S. vet. He said, and they have been conducting millennium challenges since 2002, and Iran always wins the war for the 22 years they've conducted these challenges. Absolutely. That's very true. And that's my thing. Why did they think they could win? I guess they thought because they were going to tag team them, that they would have a better outcome, but that's not the case. And they should have realized that wasn't the case back in June, when both the U.S. and Bibi's people had the 12-day war. Okay? Back then, Bibi's people last June, they called for a ceasefire. So that means y'all lost. So they thought they were going to regroup and come back and try it all over again. You're still losing, and it's sad. Okay, it's really sad. Now, with that all being said, thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel and for your insight into the topic. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Honey, Trump has just got the U.S. and everybody else in the world in a whole economic crisis at this point. Okay, it's just bad for everybody.
It's now going to have two, Marine expeditionary units of about 5,000 Marines with immense capacity to exercise and influence operations on the ground. And you'll have another 1,000+ paratroopers that are available. What are they going to be used for? Is this part of the Straits of Hormuz in terms of safe passage? Or, as Richard indicated, Kharg Island doesn't seem like, that would be a huge mistake if we were to plant soldiers and Marines there.
Why? Why such a mistake?
Well, the point is that the Iranians could turn off the pipes to Kharg Island. Now you're sitting on an island, and what are you accomplishing? You could be on Kharg Island if oil was still flowing, and now you become leverage. We would own the ability to turn on the pipes, but the Iranians can turn on the pipes before they get to Kharg Island. I think that would just be 1,000 folks sitting on the ground. And as an infantryman, I'd rather be moving. And if I'm not moving, I want to be digging. I'm not going to be.
Because if you're just sitting there, you're a sitting duck. You need to be on the move. But also what I thought he might have said was what I said. This is a recipe for disaster because of the very mountainous terrain, with the U.S. soldiers not being familiar with the region, okay, and the landscape. And Iran, of course, they know it. They live there, okay? And you know how vast it is? Like I told you all, go from Atlanta to New York, or 4 times the size of Iraq. Okay, so please pay attention. This is absolutely a recipe for disaster, but let's continue.
Digging very deeply in Karg Island. I think that's a long shot. That is zero probability in my mind. But what these troops can provide is some capability that the commander may need. There may be a civilian concern in Abu Dhabi or something in Oman, another strike, and now you've got a handful of incredibly capable, broad-shouldered individuals who can solve a problem. Look, we are in this, and we're going to be flexing our muscles for quite some time. The biggest concern that I have about troops on the ground, this hasn't been spoken about much, is what is the capacity for Iran to use chemical or biological weapons? I can't imagine an environment where soldiers are coming aground into the Zagros Mountains and now you're in a chemical environment. Let's be very calm about how we make a decision about how we're going to employ these capabilities.
And also, I think it was very stupid for the U.S. to even mention that they were going to do that. Because why would you even let them know in advance? Because that's what they've done, in my opinion. Now, with that all being said, you all do know that President Maduro went to court today, right? And his lawyers are talking about quitting. Okay, let's get into it. This is a report from the New York Post. Maduro dragged into New York City court as lawyers threaten to quit over cash crunch. It's a whole lot going on, beloveds. Please pay attention. It is a whole lot going on.
We're here to demand freedom for President Maduro and First Lady Celia Flores. We've come from all across the U.S., and I'm from Michigan myself, to demand that they be set free by the Trump administration. They've done nothing wrong. They've committed no crimes. Like Alex Saab, the Venezuelan diplomat, they're just being abused by the U.S. government, and we demand their freedom.
Brooklyn is housing right now the prisoners of war, Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. And we have so many other things as a city, as a country to spend money on that's not housing people that we kidnap, that is like prisoners of war and spending money on war and aggression. So I'm here standing up against that and demanding that these charges be dropped and that Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores be freed.
I want you all to pay attention to how the U.S. is so hypocritical. They want to go in on Maduro and his wife. They want to kidnap, abduct them, and throw them in prison while fighting alongside BB Satan Yahoo. Does anybody find that crazy as hell, or is it just me? Does anybody find that crazy? Also, for him to be calling Trump, that is, to be calling for a change of regime for Venezuela, for Cuba, right? And Iran. Who needs a change of regime more than the United States? Yikes. Okay, but let's continue. Because Trump thinks he's smart, but he isn't at all.
For me, it's so important to be here representing my country, the people that want freedom. And I'm so upset with all these people that are not even Venezuela. They've never been there. And they're here protesting because they got paid. This is a work day for them. You know, they start protesting at 8 in the morning. But that's why we are here, real Venezuelan, telling people, telling the world what's the truth in my country. We still have a dictatorship. We still are in a process to be freedom. So that's why we're here.
And all of that she says may be absolutely true. They may still have a dictatorship, but guess what, ma'am? So do we. So do we. So how is a dictator by the name of Trump trying to tell somebody else they shouldn't be a dictator? Okay, please make that make sense, because it makes absolutely none to me.
24 jobs in education.
And then she said they were paid. I don't think they were paid. I think they came of their own volition. Now they say Trump's disapproval just hit a all-time high. And this is from a Fox poll, according to MS Now. Okay, so I know Trump's all upset, but hold on. I forgot to tell you all about what Putin said 39 minutes ago. Let's get into that, and then we're out of here. Okay, we'll have to save the rest for later. Hold on. Oh, hold on just a second. Now we might have to go to this other clip and then be out. Because 12 minutes ago, it says they weren't there for us. Trump chastises NATO. Well, we've heard him say that before. Hold on. Trump threatens Iran for ceasefire as war spirals out of control 38 minutes ago. Hold on, beloveds. I'm trying to get you all the latest updates as possible. Okay, they're clearly going in on Iraq, because there's another update from Al Jazeera. Remember, Al Jazeera already reported that they hit Iran or hit Iraq with a strike, I believe, yesterday. So it says why Iraq is the most fragile front in the U.S.-Israel war on Iran. Okay, so that all being said, let's just get into it. It's all going down. Ha! Lieutenant Muxman said, I don't think Trump will survive the next 3 years. He won't. He won't. I've already dreamt it. And I told y'all that. I already dreamt it. Okay? Trump's got one foot on the banana peel and the other one in the grave. His health is declining. People have got bounties on his head, such as Iran, supposedly. It's just not looking good.
Conflict in the Middle East are still difficult to precisely predict. It seems to me that those involved in the conflict cannot predict anything. But for us, it's even harder. Nevertheless, we must live in the conditions where these events are taking place.
I welcome all participants and guests of the 35th Congress of the Russian Union of Entrepreneurs and Industrialists. This event traditionally brings together owners, top executives of the largest domestic companies, and of course, attracts the attention of the entire business community of the country. Trust-based, comprehensive cooperation between the state and businesses is particularly crucial today, when globally, in international markets, the level of uncertainty and even stress has dramatically escalated. The consequences of the conflict in the Middle East are still difficult to precisely predict. It seems to me that those involved in the conflict cannot predict anything. But for us, it's even harder. Nevertheless, we must live in the conditions where these events are taking place. However, there are already assessments suggesting they can be compared to the coronavirus epidemic, and that, I must remind you, sharply halted the development of all regions and continents without exception. It's no coincidence.
A parallel has been drawn with the recent epidemic just now. The events that the global community has faced in recent years show that upheavals in trade, investment, and international relations generally are occurring more and more frequently, becoming a new reality, accompanying the global economy's transition to a new state. To adequately respond to the pressing challenges of our time, what must Russia be? Strong, we are constantly discussing this very topic with you face to face, and united in its clear understanding of its own national interest in the effective resolution of the pressing challenges that now confront us, and in the successful achievement of its long-term strategic development goals. Despite objective difficulties and artificial restrictions imposed against our country, we managed to maintain macroeconomic stability, achieving stable and predictable inflation and unemployment trends. Together with the business and entrepreneurial community, we are working to ensure economic growth and address social challenges. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the RSPP, the teams of your companies and enterprises, for your significant daily contribution to strengthening Russia's potential and for your assistance in the development of our regions. And of course, for the support of our guys, our heroes, the participants of the special military operation, and the members of their families. I know that many of you are actively involved in this and are keeping this important issue under your constant.
Okay, so that all being said, Lieutenant Maxwell said, "My queen, I'ma die. I still love you. I still love you too, beloved. Okay, please pay attention. I love all of y'all. Now listen to this. So Terry Lee King, and shout out to Terry Lee King, beloved. Glad to see you in the chat. Terry Lee King said, my queen, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong comment. It said, did I see the video of Melania walking with the robot? Yeah, I saw that. How many of you saw that video? Once in the chat, if you all saw that video of Melania walking with that robot, because y'all know why she was doing that. Hold on, let me see if I can find that video clip real quick. I thought it was very interesting because the reason she had that robot out there is because she was basically advertising for them to have those robots teaching classes. Okay, hold on. Let me go to it. Here it is right here. Yeah, I found it all interesting. So they want to get rid of teachers and have robots. AI is going to be teaching classes now. I find that interesting because to me it sounds like what they're trying to do or where they're heading to. You know, it would seem to me because of course we know they program AI. So they would likely program it to only teach what they wanted to teach. Let's go to the footage. All nefarious. Please pay attention. We're out of here after this, folks.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House. It is an honor to be at Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition inaugural meeting. I'm Figure 3, a humanoid built in the United States of America. I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education. Welcome.
I want y'all to marinate on that for a second. A robot teaching class. Okay. Said Trump sold out to, yeah, of course he did. I've been told y'all that, baby, a month ago. Now listen, almost a month ago in 2 days. Listen, on March the 25th of 2026, First Lady Melania Trump promoted the use of AI-powered humanoid robots, such as a concept named Play-Doh, as potential educators of children at the White House summit. She suggested these robots could provide personalized, patient, and comprehensive instruction in subjects like literature, science, and history. Now, the proposal. So during a Fostering of the Future Together summit, she introduced a humanoid robot named Figure 03 to illustrate the future of AI in education. Now, the goal, she suggested that Play-Doh humanoid educators could deliver customized, instantaneous education, okay, aiding in critical thinking. Y'all hear this? Aiding in critical thinking? Okay, now here's the reaction. The proposal drew skepticism and backlash, with critics raising concerns about replacing human educators with machines. Exactly. Exactly. This is just another way for them to more seriously indoctrinate your children. That's what this is. Just another way for them to indoctrinate your children. Okay, who in the hey, I'm going to try not to curse, wants a robot teaching their children rather than an actual teacher? Okay, make it all make sense. Alice says she talks like what Jerry Hinton says, critical thinking. Exactly. Okay, so anyway, with that all been said, I'm out of here, beloveds. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I will be back later on this evening at about 7:30, between 7:30 and 8. Okay, we're going to be talking about Erica Kirk. All right. And also, speaking of Erica Kirk, someone sent me a video this morning. I couldn't get the video to play, but I did find it elsewhere, where Drewski did a skit about Erica Kirk, and he's gotten backlash. Okay, so we're going to get into it. With that all being said, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always, beloveds, remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now.
That's
See
right.
a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy.
Real slick.
I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got